hello. Words you need для нормально общающихся. It means that you know English pretty well. You know English well enough to understand me when I talk like this, but you want to make your English even better. Now, in this lesson, there may be a lot of words that you're familiar with, but they're only in your passive vocabulary. We want to move all these words to your active vocabulary so that you can speak more fluently and more confidently. And that's why it's so important that you repeat everything. Because to get a word into your active vocabulary, you need to say it lots of times. If you never use a word, then it will never be in your active vocabulary. So you need to say the words. I will give you a lot of opportunities to say the words, and you need to make sure that you do it. And when you're practicing these words, I really recommend using voice typing, голосовой ввод текста. It's a great way to check that your pronunciation's good, and it's also just quite fun. So you need to practice speaking to get the words into your active vocabulary. That's the goal. Okay, let's go. This is lesson 11, and we're starting with word number 501. Ему удалось преодолеть свою наркотическую зависимость. He managed to overcome his drug addiction. So, зависимость is addiction. And наркоманы, people with зависимость, are drug addicts. Многие из наших пациентов наркоманы. Many of our patients are drug addicts. Narkomani, they are addicts. When you say addicts, make sure you open your mouth. Addicts. Addicts. They're drug addicts. And if something makes you addicted, then you can say it's addictive. So, никотин вызывает сильное привыкание. Nicotine is extremely addictive. I don't know, вызывает привыкание, вызывает зависимость. It's addictive. And when we use the word addictive, let's have a look at what nouns often come after it. And remember, you need to repeat it lots of times. Addictive behavior. That's when you can't stop doing something. It's an addictive behavior. Addictive substances. That's вещества. An addictive personality. It means that, это его личность, he is prone to addiction. So someone with an addictive personality is prone to addiction. So, addictive. Next word. Дом построен из кирпича. Кирпич is brick. The house is made of bricks. Just look how I say this word. A long r. Bricks. Brick. Make sure that the tip of your tongue doesn't touch the top of your mouth. If that's the top of your mouth, it should be very close, but not touching. Bricks. And then you open. Bricks. X, not bricks, but bricks. It's really important to open your mouth and say bricks. Bricks. Next word. Я поищу в нашей базе данных. База данных is a database. I'll search our database. Database. So, as usual, when we have a word made of two nouns, data and base, the stress is on the first one. Database. 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 It's not data, it's data. Database. Although Americans think database or database. Americans say database. Yeah, our data. I'll check the data. I'll check the data. So in British English, it's data. In American English, it's data. 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 Next one. Дверная ручка сломана. Ручка. Ручка is the handle. The door handle is broken. Handle. Remember, handle. Handle. Open your mouth. Wide. Handle. Я разберусь с разбитым окном. You can say, I'll handle the broken window. Handle is about разобраться своими руками. Handle. I'll handle the broken window. I can handle it. Don't worry. I'll handle the... I want to have a look at what other nouns often come after handle. So we do that and collocates, and afterwards we get... What do we get? I can handle this situation. I can handle it. Я разберусь своими руками. I can handle the business myself. Like, I don't need help. I can handle it. I can handle everything myself. No problem. I can handle the pressure. That means я справлюсь. It can mean справлюсь. Я справлюсь с этим, с давлением. I can handle it. I can handle the pressure. No problem. No problem. Handle. Разобраться or maybe справляться. I've got a lot of work. Но я справлюсь. I can handle it. I can handle it. Okay, the next one. Я не колебался ни секунду. I like this word. Колебаться. Не колебался. I didn't hesitate for a moment. Hesitate. The stress is on the first syllable. It's not hesitate. It's hesitate. Hesitate. How do we get the stress? We do a kind of long he with our mouth open and a smile. Hesitate. Hesitate for a moment. I didn't hesitate. There was no hesitation. Без колебания. No hesitation. The next one. Моя собака всегда слушается меня. Слушается. My dog always obeys me. Amazes? No, that's not what I said. Let's try again. My dog always obeys me. Second time lucky. It obeys me. We don't usually use this word with children. You know, my son usually does what he's told. I don't usually say he obeys me. It feels like quite a formal word, obey. However, the adjective is used more. Собака очень послушная. My dog is very obedient. So he obeys me, he's obedient. And the opposite is disobedient. Sometimes my son is disobedient. It's quite formal as well. Not as formal as the verb to obey and to disobey, but quite formal. Quite formal. There's also the noun obedience. Ваше послушание будет вознаграждено. Your obedience will be rewarded. Thank you for your obedience. Послушание. Let's move on to the next word. Целью нашего визита было увидеть Тадж-Махал. Целью нашего визита. The purpose of our visit was to see the Taj Mahal. It was the purpose, наша цель. Or it could be повод as well. Повод нашего визита, цель нашего визита, the purpose. What's your purpose? Ну, к чему вы стремляетесь? It's цель, really, yeah. Purpose. Purpose. And there's another phrase, намеренно, on purpose. Он намеренно причинил мне боль. He hurt me on purpose. He hurt me on purpose. And it's a long sound. Purpose. Purpose. He hurt me on purpose. Kids always say, he did it on purpose. It was on purpose. Purpose. Намеренно. What? Purpose. He strode purposefully onto the stage. Let's say, намеренно, нацеленно. He strode purposefully, with purpose. Let's look at another word. Она хранила молчание. Хранила. She remained silent. I wonder what other adjectives actually often come after remained. It's quite unusual to have a verb followed by an adjective. So let's have a look at this. Remained. Let's see if this works. Yeah. The situation remained unchanged. I guess it's осталось in Russian. The vase remained intact. This phrase intact means it didn't fall apart. It remained in one piece. It remained intact. The resort remained open. Не закрылось. The prices remained high. Yeah. The wind remained strong. So, remained. It stayed the same. Nothing changed. It remained. Lots of ya. Remained. There's also this phrase, оставшийся. The remaining. Оставшиеся яблоки я соберу завтра. I will pick the remaining apples tomorrow. Оставшиеся, the remaining. There's another, so it can be the rest of the apples equals the remaining apples. And there's another phrase, в лесу были найдены человеческие останки. Вот останки is also remains. Human remains were found in the wood. Remains. Another one. Не искушай меня. Не искушай. Не соблазняй. Don't tempt me. Try to get a lot of t aspiration. Tempt. T-empt. Pt. The p and the t are both aspirated. Tempt. Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me. Tempt. Tempt. Если шоколадные пирожные выглядят очень соблазнительно, you can say, that chocolate cake looks very tempting. It should be singular, couldn't it? Or I could do, those chocolate cakes look very tempting. That's better. They look very tempting. Lots of t in tempting. Tempting. And the next one, the last word in the first part of the lesson, плащ Гарри Поттера делал его невидимым. Видимый is visible. So невидимый is invisible. Harry Potter's cloak made him invisible. It was called, actually, an invisibility cloak. Invisible, invisibility. And visibility is видимость. Видимость сегодня плохая. The visibility is poor today. Poor visibility, плохая видимость. That's 10 words. So, if you need a break, take a break. If you'd like to review the words, practice pronouncing the words and the phrases, then now's the time to do that. And then come back and I'll talk about another set of 10 words. Part 2. Мы нашли заброшенный дом. We found an abandoned house. There's a lot of n in this word, abandoned, because we have two n's before does. Abandoned, abandoned, abandoned. Lots of n. Abandoned. What else can be abandoned? Abandoned military equipment, for example. But this is because I have adjectives and not nouns, so let's have nouns instead. There we go. Abandoned buildings. An abandoned car. Abandoned houses. We found an abandoned mine. That's шахта, брошенная. So, abandoned, брошенная. If you live in бывшее пространство СССР, then you need this word because there are заброшенные всякие штучки везде. Abandoned buildings, abandoned mines, abandoned equipment, abandoned factories, many abandoned places and things. Не бросай меня. You can also abandon a person. Don't abandon me. Abandon, бросать. Если он покинул свой корабль, you can also use the word abandon. He abandoned his ship. Abandoned. Next one. Нужно нарубить много дров. Нарубить дров is to chop wood. There is a lot of wood to chop. When you say chop, remember it's sh at the beginning. Something like that. Chop. Chop wood. Not chop, but chop. 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 A lot of wood to chop. With an axe. Топор, axe. We chop. I chopped up the wood with an axe. There you go. Next. Мы несколько дней ехали по густому лесу. It sounds like something from Lord of the Rings. We travelled for days through dense woodland. Or it could be dense forest. Густой, dense. But густой soup is thick soup. So густой, if we're talking about a liquid, is thick. But густой, if we're speaking about something solid, is dense. Although you could say thick forest, but dense sounds better. And actually, it's not only when we talk about forest, we can also use it to talk about people. Bangladesh густо населен. Bangladesh is densely populated. And in general, density, the density of water is greater than the density of wood. I think that's right. Let's get I'll just get a translation of that. Плотность. So density is also about плотность. That's why wood floats. I think wood floats because its density is less than the density of water. So density, плотность as well. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about густонаселенный Bangladesh. Densely populated Bangladesh. Okay, next one. У нее красивый почерк. Почерк is handwriting. She has beautiful handwriting. It's another word which consists of two words, handwriting. The stress is on the first one, so we say and writing. And then the writing is smaller. Handwriting. Handwriting. Beautiful handwriting. Мне нравится получать письма, написанные от руки. I like receiving handwritten letters. It's handwritten. It is nice nowadays to receive a handwritten letter because we so rarely write by hand. So it is nice, yeah, to get handwritten letters. Next one. У меня ипотека на 30 лет. What's ипотека in English? It's a mortgage. I have a 30-year mortgage. Don't pay attention to the spelling. Just remember the pronunciation. Mortgage. 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 Double sound. Mortgage. 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 A 30-year mortgage. 516. Ничего необычного не произошло. Nothing unusual occurred. So, everybody knows the word happened. Nothing happened. But there is this more formal, perhaps more literary word, occurred. Nothing occurred. And there's another use of this word, which we use more often, I think. Пришло в голову, не приходило в голову. Мне никогда не приходило в голову, что она была влюблена. It never occurred to me that she was in love. This idea just occurred to me. Только что пришло в голову. Occurred to me. So it's a useful phrase to remember. Приходить в голову, occur to me. Occurred to him, occurred to her. Ну, в зависимости от кому приходит в голову. Occurred to. It's not an unusual occurrence. That's another use of this word. Occur, occurrence, like an event. It's not an unusual event. It's not an unusual occurrence. Событие в этом случае. The next one. Можем мы на минутку прервать наш разговор? Can we pause our conversation for a moment? So, of course, pausa is a pause, the noun, but pause is also a verb. You can pause something. I want to pause our conversation. Let's pause the lesson for a moment. Прервем. Ставим паузу. Сделаем паузу. Next word. Я не могу решить эту головоломку. Головоломка. A puzzle. I can't solve this puzzle. Try not to say puzzle. Puzzle. Puzz. Puzz. Puzzle. You need to go quickly from the p to the z. Puzz. Puzzle. I can't solve this puzzle. It's a puzzle. A difficult puzzle. A tricky puzzle. What other words come before puzzle? It's a complex puzzle. Сложная. It's a Chinese puzzle. Китайская. Interesting. A giant puzzle. Гигантская. Огромная. A complicated puzzle. Сложная. Puzzles. I like the word puzzle. Zul, zul, zul. And at the end, puzzle, make sure you get that l, dark l in your throat, not puzzle. L, puzzle. The tip of the tongue goes down to your bottom teeth and you say l, puzzle. Puzzle. It can also be a verb. Их отношения озадачивают меня. Their relationship puzzles me. I can't understand it. It puzzles me. Puzzles. The next one. Ее упорный труд был вознагражден. Вот. Ее упорный труд был вознагражден. Her hard work was rewarded. So when we talk about вознаграждение, the word I can't say, it's a reward. A reward. Pronunciation, re, wa, o, da. Reward. 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 Don't pronounce the R at the end. You don't need to. Reward. Reward. I like this word. Моя работа очень благодарная, вознаграждающая. I'm not sure about the translation, but I will explain. My job is very rewarding. If something is rewarding, what does it do? It gives you positive emotions. It feeds your soul, I would say. It feeds your soul. Питает душу человека. It's rewarding. Teaching is very rewarding. However, it is not usually financially rewarding. So financially rewarding means, you get good money. But if it's just rewarding, it means you get good feelings, good emotions from it. So if something's rewarding, it gives you good emotions. Они предлагают вознаграждение за информацию. They are offering a reward for information. A reward, вознаграждение, a reward. And the last word in part 2. Экономика демонстрировала устойчивый рост до 2008 года. Устойчивый. The economy enjoyed steady growth until 2008. Steady. Устойчивый. There's also the word steadily. Уровень рождаемости неуклонно снижался в период с 90 по 2005 года. I don't like reading years in Russian. The birth rate fell steadily between 1990 and 2005. Steadily. What other things happened steadily? Let's have a look. Something happened steadily. Устойчиво, неуклонно. What if I do VV? I get the same. What if I do VVN? It has grown steadily. Рост, это про рост. It has risen steadily. Let's get the whole sentence. The interest rate has risen steadily. Становится выше. Prices have fallen steadily. Все ниже. Inflation has climbed steadily. Climbed is going up. So it's always about something going up, something going down. Steadily. Steadily. Okay. Press pause. Take a break. Relax. Have a drink. If you have access to the full course, then do the tasks. And then let's do the third part of the lesson. Part 3, 521. У вас нет полномочий менять закон. You don't have the authority to change the law. So in this context, authority is полномочия. And actually, just the word власти, very often when we talk about власти, we talk about the authorities. He was reported to the authorities by his neighbor. That means сосед постучал на него. I think that's the phrase, isn't it? If you report somebody. The authorities, власти, органы власти, the authorities. So the mayor is part of the authorities. So he has the authority to do something. У него есть полномочия. Мэр санкционировал освобождение заключенного. The mayor authorized the prisoner's release. He authorized it. And для входа на базу вам необходимо специальное разрешение. There's also a word authorization. You need special authorization to enter the base. So authorization is разрешение от власти. You need to get authorization from the authorities. So on a base, there are authorities who have authority to give authorization or to deny authorization. So, authorities, власти и все, что с этим связано. The next one. Его судили в гражданском суде. He was tried in a civil court. Got there in the end. A civil court. Other things that can be civil. Civil, followed by a noun. Civil rights. That's гражданские права. A civil war. Гражданская война. Civil society. Гражданское общество. The civil service. Это все, которые работают на государство. The civil service. Все чиновники, that's the civil service. But look, in English it's service. Они же обслуживают общество. Civil law. I don't know. Гражданский закон. Something like that. And I also wanted to do a civil partnership is гражданский брак. Civil partnership. Okay, this word is also connected to civil. К сожалению, были жертвы среди гражданского населения. Or, usually in Russian they're called мирные жители. Unfortunately, there were civilian victims. They were dressed as civilians. They were in civilian clothes. So, civilians are not military personnel. They're мирные жители, гражданское население, civilians, civilians, civilians. Try to make the civilians. The most important sound is the v. Civilians. Not the e. Civil, but civilians. Civilians. Let's move on. Мы были вынуждены рассказать им все. Нас заставили. We were compelled to tell them everything. There's another word. We were forced to tell them everything. And the meaning is basically the same. They forced us, they compelled us to tell them everything. And there's an adjective from this word, to compel. Посещение обязательно. The adjective would be attendance is compulsory. Now you may know that there are different words for this in English. Attendance is required. Attendance is mandatory. Attendance is compulsory. And the meaning is basically the same. Обязательно. Now, зрители были под впечатлением от начала и до конца. You can say, the audience were compelled from start to finish. But this is a good thing. Это не значит, что их заставили. Хотели, не хотели, но их заставили. Они просто не могли оторваться. They were compelled. They were compelled to watch because it was so interesting. So, if something is compelling, it means нельзя оторваться. недавняя серия «Игры престолов» была неотразимой. Невозможно было оторваться. The recent series of Game of Thrones was compelling. There's also a phrase, she made a compelling argument. And if an argument is compelling, it's нельзя не согласиться. It was compelling argument. I can't help agreeing. But a compelling performance, I can't help watching. So if something's compelling, you can't help doing it, watching it, feeling it. Compelling. Okay, the next one. Этот яд смертелен. This poison is deadly. And there's another word, it's a synonym. This poison is lethal. It's lethal, it's deadly. The next word. Срок действия моего паспорта истекает в следующем году. It's worth knowing this word. My passport will expire next year. Pronunciation, expire. Two sounds. Spire. Spire. Expire next year. When will it expire? What's the expiry date? Каков срок годности? But not only срок годности. What's the expiry date? We can use this phrase to talk about food, срок годности, or срок паспорта, срок действительности. That's also the expiry date. When we say expired, we do two sounds, but expiry, we don't. Just expiry. Expiry, expired. Expiry, expired. Next. Мне нужно купить кое-какие продукты. Продукты, it's not products. I need to pick up some groceries. So, продукты is groceries. When you pronounce this word, just remember it begins with grow. Grow. Ceries. Grow. With a w. Groceries. Groceries. Don't miss the w. Next word. Ваш зонтик висит на крючке у двери. Крючок. Your umbrella is on a hook in the hall. Look at my mouth. Hook. My mouth is open. It's not a hook. It's a hook with an open mouth. Hook. Hook. When you open your mouth, your h will be much better, I promise. Hook. If your mouth is closed, hook, hook. It's very difficult to pronounce a good h. So, hook. On a hook in the hall. It's on a hook. If you know the stories about Peter Pan, Peter Pan's enemy is Captain Hook because he had a hook instead of a hand. The next one. Я прочитал первые 3 страницы и меня зацепило. Зацепило меня. I read the first 3 pages and I was hooked. Hooked. It drew me in. So it's like in fishing, you hook the fish, then you draw it in. That's zацепить. It hooked me and drew me in. I was hooked. Next one. О, как жаль. Какая жалость. Oh, what a pity. It's interesting, isn't it? In Russian it's or, just or, but in English it's oh, with a w. Oh, what a pity. Pity. It's not Pete, it's pit. It's really short. Pity. What a pity. And pity is also a verb. Я не хочу, чтобы она жалела меня. Не хочу ее жалости. I don't want her to pity me. Pity. Pity. Жалость. Жалеть. Next. Земля вращается вокруг солнца. The earth revolves around the sun. Well, I like words with a v combination because you get this ulv sound. It's really deep in the throat. Ulv. Ulv. It should be easy because it's, Russian is spoken in the throat a lot of the time, so you should be able to say ulv, ulv. Revolves. Revolves. So when you pronounce this ending, ulvs, надо включать русский акцент. Revolves. Revolves. Everything in the throat. Revolves. The earth revolves around the sun. Everything revolves around my son. Sometimes it feels like that. Sons, actually, I have 3. Everything revolves around them. Often that's how life feels. I'm sure you know the feeling. They're young. They're all under 8. So, anyway, number 530. Массаж может уменьшить напряжение в мышцах. Напряжение. Massage can reduce tension in the muscles. So tension is what you get when you pull something tight. You create tension. Of course, we can use it to speak about some material, like a muscle is a material, and it can be tense or relaxed. Tense or relaxed. And the same to speak about the atmosphere of a place. Атмосфера на встрече была напряженной. The atmosphere at the meeting was tense. Tense. Remember, you need to clip the n. Tense. Or I could write it like that. Tense. A little pause between the clipped n and the s. Tense. Tense. And don't forget the aspiration. Tense. It was tense. Напряженная атмосфера. Tense. All right, that's another 10 words. Well done. If you want to take a break, take a break. If you want to keep watching, well, you can keep watching because I'm going to keep talking. Part 4, word number 531. Наш разговор дал мне ощущение завершенности. Our conversation gave me a sense of closure. It's like I could close that chapter of my life. A sense of closure. So closure, it's the noun from to close. So if I put in closure of the... whoops. I'm not supposed to be looking for context. Let's try again. Then it needs to be a noun, I think. Nouns. What do I get? The closure of the school. Закрытие школы. The closure of the border. Not closer. Try again. The closure of the border. No, not closer. The closure of the border. Yes, got it. The closure of the factory. Closure, закрытие, but also ощущение завершенности is a sense of closure, a feeling of closure. Remember the w. Don't forget the w. Closure. Closure. Okay, the next word. Я никогда раньше не сталкивался с подобной проблемой. Вот сталкиваться с проблемой, сталкиваться с чем-то. Сталкиваться с новым словом тоже можно. I have never encountered a problem like this before. I've never encountered something like this. An encounter is usually случайная встреча. So here we have их роман начался со случайной встречи в парке. Their affair began with a chance encounter in the park. And interestingly, if it's not случайная, then encounter usually means a kind of battle, or in football you could talk about the encounter between Manchester United and Arsenal. It was a tough encounter, like a tough battle. Obviously that was not случайная встреча. But when I encounter something, it's unexpected. If I say, I encountered a bear in the woods, it means I wasn't expecting to see a bear when I encountered it. I encountered many difficulties when I was creating my website, for example. Сталкивался с этими проблемами неожиданными. Encounter. The next word. Вы должны рисковать, чтобы быть успешным предпринимателем. You have to take risks to be a successful entrepreneur. Now, when we use this word entrepreneur, we usually think about somebody who creates one business and then a few years later another business, and they're always starting new projects, growing things. That's being an entrepreneur. Now, technically, I have my own business. I'm trying to create something, but I wouldn't call myself an entrepreneur because I'm so focused on one particular project. Whereas entrepreneurs are always looking for new businesses. People who think entrepreneurially are always trying something new. So I don't think it's quite the same as предприниматель. It's a bit different. It's more like businessman, actually, I think. A successful entrepreneur. But maybe if you're a successful entrepreneur, you can go on to be a businessman. I don't know. But a businessman can have the same business for many years. Whereas an entrepreneur is always doing new businesses. That's the idea. Entrepreneur. So, предприниматель, maybe it's a businessman, maybe it's just a self-employed person, or maybe it's an entrepreneur. Okay, the next one. Все жители города были эвакуированы. Жители. All the inhabitants of the town were evacuated. You may know the word residents, or the residents, all the inhabitants, and I don't think there's a big difference between them. Although resident can be used in almost any context. Inhabitants, you can't be the inhabitant of a house. That sounds weird. But you can be the inhabitant of a town, or the inhabitants of a region, or the inhabitants of a country. So inhabitants you can use when you're talking about population, whereas residents you can use more flexibly, I would say. So inhabitants, residents. Why are the inhabitants? Because they inhabit the town. The verb is to inhabit. The next word is an adjective. Я предпочитаю носить свободную одежду. What's свободная? Don't call them free clothes, because free clothes, that's бесплатная одежда. That's something else. Free clothes. I prefer to wear loose clothes. I find this funny because there's a word lose, проиграть, потерять, and there's a word loose. And the funny thing here is in the word lose, we have a long sound. Z. Because it comes before the voiced z. Ooh, ooh. But when we say loose, we have a short sound. Let's short. U, w, pausa, s. Loose. Loose. Because the s at the end is unvoiced. So this word is longer. But when we pronounce it, it's much shorter. Which is weird, isn't it? It is weird. Anyway. Lose. Loose. I don't want to lose my loose sweater. I don't want to lose, it's long, lose, my loose, it's short, loose, loose, sweater, lose, loose. And there is a verb from the word loose. Давайте ослабим эти ремни. Let's loosen these straps. Let's loosen them. Long L, short U. Loosen. Loosen these straps. The next word. 536. Мы посетили местную мечеть. Мечеть is a mosque. We visited the local mosque. Listen to how I pronounce it. Long M, short R, open R, pause, S-S-S-K, mosque. Ma, pause, sk, mosque. Don't say mosque, mosque, mosque. The local mosque. The next word. На моей крыше есть осиное гнездо. Oh dear. There is a wasp nest in my roof. Here again, like in the word mosque, we have short vowels before unvoiced consonants. S. So wasp is wasp, and then nest is nest. We can also extend the first, we can stretch the first sound. Wasp nest, wasp nest, wasp nest, wasp nest, a nest, a nest, nest. The vowel is really short. Keep it really short. Wasp nest, wasp nest. Let's have a look at some. No, let's not. Let's carry on. The next one. Я принимаю витаминные таблетки каждое утро. Таблетки are pills. You can say tablets, but we're doing the word pills here. I take vitamin pills every morning. Remember, it's pills, and the ools is in your throat. Pills. Ools, pills. I take vitamin pills, ills. When I say pills, this part of my tongue, it doesn't touch my nyoba, the top part of my mouth, at all. It doesn't touch it. My tongue is down here. Pills. Oh, and the L I pronounce in my throat. Ooh, pills. Vitamin pills. Pills. I hope you can make that sound. Ooh, pills. Okay, the next one. Это кольцо мне очень дорого. This ring is very precious to me. Мне очень ценное. Дорого. Precious. It's precious. If you know the Lord of the Rings stories, then you know about Gollum. So Gollum had the ring before Bilbo. But Bilbo took the ring from Gollum. And then Bilbo gave the ring to Frodo, and Gollum tried to get the ring from Frodo. And Gollum called the ring my precious. My precious. Вот дорогое мое кольцо. Precious. Long R. Precious. Precious. The vowels in this word, they're really, really shattered, I would say. Precious. They're breathy. Use lots of breath. Precious. Imagine your Gollum. Precious. Precious. Precious, like Gollum. Say it like Gollum. Precious. Okay. Next. Рядом с моим домом есть буддийский храм. There is a Buddhist temple near my home. So, храм is a temple. Let's look at some different kinds of temples. Here we may get a list of religions, which might be useful for you. A Buddhist temple. It's a Sikh temple. Not like that. Sikh like that. It's a Jewish temple. Actually, not at, because there's only one. It's the Jewish temple. The temple in Jerusalem. It's a Hindu temple. Hindu. Индусские. Hindu. And that is another 10 words. So, we've only got 10 more words in this lesson. But before I talk about them, I recommend that you press pause, you take a short break, and if you have time, review the words from this part of the lesson and practice reading the sentences to your phone and check whether your phone can recognize what you are saying. Then, make sure that you come back and finish the lesson. Let's move on to the final part of the lesson. Спортсмены много тренируются. Maybe you want to say sportsman, and maybe the word sportsman is easier to say than this word, but this is a better translation of спортсмены. Athletes train a lot. Athletes. Again, to get a good th, try to bite the sides of your tongue. Ath. Athletes. Athletes train a lot. Если моя дочь очень спортивная, maybe you want to say, oh yes, she is very sportive. That's not a word. Sportive is not a word. You can say, my daughter is very sporty, but a better word is, my daughter is very athletic. So, of course, there's this word atletika in Russian. Well, it's the same root. Athletic. She's an athlete. She's athletic. She's an athlete. Stress on the first syllable. Athlete, athletic. Athlete, athletic. Next word. Я увидел огромного жука на своем стуле. Жук. I saw a huge bug on my chair. It could also be, I saw a huge beetle on my chair. Now, a bug is any kind of insect, but a beetle is specifically a crawling insect. Here it gives me жук. So yeah, it could be a beetle, it could be a bug, because all beetles are bugs. It's a bug, it's a beetle. The Volkswagen Żuk is a... My uncle used to have a VW Beetle. That legendary car, the Żuk, the Beetle. There you go. Beetle, or maybe it's a bug. Both words are possible translations. The next one. Я люблю ароматические свечи. I love scented candles. So, свечи, candles. Try to hold the n. Candles. Lots of n because it's a nut before a d, and when we have a nut before a d, we stretch it. Candles. Let's do the next one. Прислушайся к своей совести. What's совесть in English? Listen to your conscience. So, совесть is conscience. And somebody who listens to their conscience is conscientious. У нее очень добросовестный подход к работе. She has a very conscientious approach to her work. Again, here, голосовой ввод текста helps us because you don't need to remember all these crazy letters in this word. I mean, the spelling of this word is horrendous. The pronunciation's not so difficult. Conscientious. I think anybody can say that. Conscientious. 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 It's not difficult to say. It's only difficult to type. So get the sounds into your head. Conscientious. She's a conscientious person. Now, earlier in today's lesson, we also had, or maybe in a previous lesson, I don't remember, we had the word conscious and consciousness. And sometimes people mix up these words. Conscientious, conscientious, conscientiousness. She's conscientious. Got it. So there's conscious consciousness, conscientious conscientiousness. Conscious consciousness, that's about your brain. Сознание. Conscientious, that's about your conscience. Совесть. So conscious consciousness, мозг. Conscientiousness, совесть. It's very difficult to pronounce these words at the same time. Conscientious, conscious, conscientiousness, consciousness. You'll get it. Don't worry. Just practice makes perfect. Okay, the next one. Рассвет – мое любимое время суток. Рассвет is dawn. Dawn is my favorite time of day. Dawn. 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 My favorite time of day. 546. Его трофеи выставлены в гостиной. His trophies are displayed in the living room. And выставлены, they are displayed. In Russian, you've got the word display, which is, I think, about the screen, isn't it, of your computer. Your computer's display, your television's display, that's the screen. То, что выставлен, I guess. То, что показывают. So they are displayed in the living room. Don't display your ignorance. Like, don't show your ignorance, невежество, to people. It's not a good idea. It's better to hide it. So, to display is the opposite of to hide. You can hide something, you can display something. Display. The next word, сосчитайте точки на странице. Count the dots on the page. So, точки are dots. The most important use of dots is in websites. My website, www.hopkinsenglish.com. Oh, there you go, it worked. www.bbc.co.uk. There we go. That's a lot of dots. I missed a few W's, but you get the idea. So we use dot when we talk about email addresses and websites. And actually, email addresses, my email address, ben@hopkinsenglish.com. There you go. We say at for собака and then dot for точка. At собака.точка. Next one. Oh, my kids love this. Мы построили полосу препятствий в нашем саду. Полоса препятствия is an obstacle course. We built an obstacle course in our garden. What do obstacles do? The obstacle obstructed my path. So препятствовать is to obstruct. Interestingly, there are obstacles and obstructions. I wonder what the difference is. Is it an obstacle? Or is it an obstruction? I think an obstruction is designed to obstruct, but an obstacle is something that obstructs, but that's not why it's there. So, for example, a tree on my path is an obstacle. But a big wall that somebody has built on the path is an obstruction. So obstructions are intentional препятствия and obstacles are natural ones. I think that works. To be honest, it doesn't really matter. Everybody will understand you if you say obstacle or if you say obstruction. They'll definitely get the idea. But I think obstructing is intentional and obstacles, they're just there. All right, the next one. Кислород составляет 21% атмосферы. Кислород is oxygen. Oxygen makes up 21% of the atmosphere. Oxygen. It's really short. Oxygen. Oxygen. Another word where the pronunciation and the spelling don't really match. Just remember how it sounds. You've got to remember it. Say it 10 times. Oxygen, 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 oxygen. And this is the last word. It's a verb. Не пролей свой напиток. Не пролей. Don't spill your drink. Don't spill it. When you say this word, make sure you open your mouth. Spill. It's not spill. Spill. The mouth opens. Spit. The tongue goes up. Spill. Spill. In your throat. Spill. Spill. Don't spill your drink. Don't spill it. Spill. Spill. And that's all. Well done. That's another 50 words. Well done me too for getting to the end. I hope that you've enjoyed this lesson. If you have, remember to click the like button, and I do hope that you'll join me soon for the next set of 50 words. All right, bye.